No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Don't mind me over here, folks, for a second. I'm just going through this box of stuff I have. A keyboard, looks like a ring light. Ezzy, you might be able to use this ring light. I can send that over your way, maybe. I got a plastic bag here. I got a banner. I don't seem to have a panic button, but I bet you there's some panic buttons that I can borrow from some Winnipeg Jets fans, because for a second straight game in these playoffs, the Winnipeg Jets were utterly humiliated by the St. Louis Blues.
Thank you, Mr. Dress Up.
Yeah, exactly. The tickle trunk that I have over here in the basement. Good afternoon, Winnipeg. Good afternoon, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live on our social media platforms, we say good afternoon, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show and therapy session along with Dave Manouk and Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss another disgusting, sorry, I'm quoting Eminem a little bit, if I can paraphrase Eminem, performance by the Winnipeg Jets, this time losing to the St. Louis Blues by a 5-1 margin, giving up 5 unanswered goals over the final, 40 minutes and, small amount of seconds. And the series that was once a best of 7 is now a best of 3 back in Winnipeg on Wednesday night. Gentlemen, good to see you both. An inexplicable final 40 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets, maybe even final 35 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets, as a strong performance to start ends in utter catastrophe. Connor Hellebuyck getting pulled again after being shelled for 5 goals against. This Winnipeg Jets team is fragile like a Fabergé egg after the last 2 games between the Jets and the Blues. Nice to see you guys both on this Sunday afternoon.
Boys, the good news is the series is still tied. The bad news is the series is tied. And like Drew said, this was a second consecutive disappointing performance from the Jets after they finally get the good start that they needed, right? Kyle Connor scores in the first period. They had a couple power plays. They didn't score on the power play, but the first power play, guys, the Jets had 5 shots on net. So I thought that was the best the power play has looked in a while. It's still obviously not clicking like it was, peak regular season. But, the Jets are just giving up goals where St. Louis just wants it more, right? Like just getting traffic to the net. The Braden Shen goal, obviously, Connor Hellebuyck tries to play it, but he just doesn't do a good job at that. And, for me, like Hellebuyck's play is a big story in the first 4 games of the series, right? Like I think we would all agree game 2 was his best game. Game 1, he obviously, struggled a little bit early on and the Jets reclaimed the lead, but I mean, Jordan Binnington is outplaying Connor Hellebuyck through the first 4 games of the series. Not just today, not just in game 3, but through 4 games, Binnington is outplaying Hellebuyck. And the Braden Shen line is outplaying the Nemesnikov line. Like, for me, still, guys, you're not getting enough offense created from the Nemesnikov, Niederreiter, Perfetti line. I thought that this was Perfetti's probably his weakest game of the 4. I'm not putting it all on him, but, the Jets are having trouble creating offense. They're giving up way too much in front of the net to the St. Louis Blues. Just look at some of the goals, right? Like, yeah, it's just the D collapsing, out of position, running around in your own zone. And obviously, guys, like the second period is where it all fell apart with the Blues scoring 3 goals. But Tyler Tucker's goal, I mean, that's a goal that you can stop. And by the way, hopefully Tyler Tucker's okay. It was a scary incident in the third period
when he left the game there, not putting any weight on it.
Looked like the knee, right? And, so an interesting point on Tyler Tucker, 7th round pick. He played for Dale Hawerchuk with the Barrie Colts and played with Ben Hawerchuk, who's obviously Eric Hawerchuk's brother. We've had him on the post-game show. So just an interesting note on Tyler Tucker, who has played for Ducky with the Barrie Colts. But that goal is stoppable. The Braden Shen goal, obviously, I mean, it comes right after the power play expires. And I'm just saying, Drew, I mean, like, overall, the Jets weren't able to build on what they accomplished in the first period. And that's been an issue throughout the 4 games in the series is, the Jets are having a good period and a half. They're not putting together complete efforts. I also didn't like the third period. I thought that the Jets didn't really have a lot that you could take from that third period, Drew, and carry on to game 5. But like you said, it's a best of 3 series now, but Jets have a lot of things that they need to sort out right now because the Blues badly outplayed them in St. Louis.
There's no reason. I mean, based on the last couple of games, the Jets are, to me, Dave, the word that comes to mind is soft. The Jets played a soft game today. I mean, the area in front of the goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck, and then maybe to a lesser extent, Eric Comrie, was a free space for the St. Louis Blues. Exactly what you haven't seen from the Winnipeg Jets over the last number of years. St. Louis is getting to where they want to go on the ice, and there's no pushback from the Winnipeg Jets. Hunter, the quote from Hunter S. Thompson, "Kill the body and the head will die," comes to mind because the Jets, to me, look like a team that is shying away from the physicality that St. Louis is leveling upon them. And as a result, St. Louis is getting to do what they want because the Jets don't have the same level of fight. They don't have the same level of commitment that we have seen all season long. Right now, this Winnipeg Jets team just looks an absolute shell of itself. And I don't know that 2 days off is going to change all that much. Jets obviously will have to find the answers. Go ahead.
Yeah, and a big part of that answer will be Gabriel Velarde's return. We expect that for Game 5. And look, it's definitely going to help on the power play where they have not had a lot of power, not a lot of opportunities either, but it definitely will help in that regard. But look, there's no dancing around the subject. I mean, this Jets team was the best defensive team in the NHL for the entirety of the regular season. Sure, it's a different game in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, but it's not like that just goes away. It doesn't just disappear. You you weren't the only team in the NHL to not allow more than 200 goals, and that suddenly goes away. But you've allowed 12 in 2 games. That is not a good number. And you're right. They have been soft. It was a weird game because look, they didn't allow a shot in the first period for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, you're watching this game, you're thinking to yourself, that's exactly the formula the Jets needed. They get the first goal. They come out. I thought St. Louis came out. They had that really early chance, within 20 seconds, 30 seconds, they get a real good chance that goes wide of the net. But the fact of the matter is,
after the Jets killed the Nemesnikov tripping penalty, that's when the first period turned in the Jets' favor, I thought.
Sure, for sure. But my point is that St. Louis had a good early chance, but then it was all Jets. And so the fact of the matter is, and you're right, they killed that penalty. That was good. But ultimately, this Jets team had a really good first period. And thought, okay, well, even though, obviously giving up a goal with 22.7 seconds to go in the first is not ideal. They've played really well. And they came out in the second. I thought, okay, this team is going to continue. They're still rolling along. And then ultimately, they just were just fragile. That's another word I'd use. They were fragile because it just started to go wrong for them and they just didn't have that answer. And so, you're looking at this team and you're thinking to yourself, like, this team should have enough. And don't get me wrong. Again, you're missing 52 goals. That's not an insignificant number, but they're missing Dylan Holloway. He's also been a significant player for them, and their guys are coming through for them. And, when the Jets tried to respond, it just seemed like the Blues were on them. And then when the Blues were pressing, the Jets just didn't have the numbers. And it was a discombobulated game. And then in that third period, to the point that you guys were making earlier, it just seemed like I was going to joke saying this is like go to running time because it seemed like both teams just wanted to get this game over with.
The last 12 or 13 minutes of the third period, Dave, were rough to watch.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, may as well stop playing this game and let's focus on Game 5 already. Because that seems to be the way everybody's focused right now.
That's my point. Look, you're going to lose the game. It's 5-1. You're going to lose the game at that point in time. And I know that, tone setting, it can often be just empty actions, empty phrases. But this is 2 straight games now where you've been run out of the rink. Somebody needs to be the heart and soul of this Winnipeg Jets team. I sent this message out on X. Where's Adam Lowry? Kyle Connor scores a goal. Yeah, he doesn't look great on the 5th goal that St. Louis scores, but at least he scores. In the first period, Mark Scheifele, he noticeable on the shift that where Connor gets the goal. Where's Adam Lowry? I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's sick. I don't know what's going on. But for a guy who is often the heart of this Winnipeg Jets team, he needs to show up and be there and say enough is enough. There needs to be somebody dragging this team through whatever they're in right now. And it's been 2 straight games of it. And I just see no signs of it. It's stunning. And I understand that it's between their ears, because that's what it is. This is mental. This is them getting punched in the jaw and not being sure how to respond. We've seen it. We talked about it all season long, all regular season. They said it was different this year. Well, now is the time to prove it. If you don't win 2 of the next 3, everyone's going to say, yeah, great, you're a regular season team. You're like the Washington Capitals were for all those years when they were a regular season team before they finally broke through against the Vegas Golden Knights and won the Stanley Cup years later. Where is that driver, that leader? That needs to be Adam Lowry. Josh Morrissey, aside from game 1, hasn't been good enough in this series the last few games. St. Louis is doing what they want to you, and I see nobody responding from the Winnipeg Jets' perspective, and that to me is unbelievably troubling given everything we've seen from this team over the last number of years.
Right, and you're not talking about, Adam Lowry mixing it up at the Blues bench. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about leading by example and having some good shifts in the O zone and popping in a goal. Like there's a lot wrong with the last couple of games, guys. Like it's not just the Adam Lowry line. It's not just 1 or 2 players. The Jets haven't had a response for the Blues forecheck. They haven't had a response for the physicality. Obviously, the Jets, and I'm not sure why Logan Stanley didn't play. I think Logan Stanley's been fine. Obviously, he wasn't the main reason why the Jets lost this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Stanley's back for game 5. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on Lowry, but it goes back to what I've said before. Like, Hellebuyck has allowed 11 goals in 2 games, the last 2 games. Just let that sink in for a second. 11 goals in the last 2 games for Connor Hellebuyck. And this has been a guy who's been criticized for how he's played in the playoffs. And by the way, like, seeing some of the comments, Eric Comrie's not starting game 5, period.
I agree.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
I agree. It's not happening. Connor Hellebuyck has been, look, he's going to be the Vezina Trophy winner. He's going to start game 5, but you wonder how short is the leash on him for game 5. You do.
Well, he's been pulled twice in a row. When was the last time Hellebuyck has been pulled twice in a row? Like, I honestly can't.
We can't remember the last time he got pulled once. Forget about
exactly right. So I mean, you're going to live and die with Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, could the leash be shorter, Drew, for game 5? Absolutely, based on how he played in St. Louis. But there's concern. There's cause for concern up and down the lineup, right? Like Scheifele and Connor, obviously, they combine on the Jets' first goal, but somebody else has got to score on this team. I actually thought, the fourth line early in the game, they were generating some of the most offense for the Jets, right? Anderson, Dolan, Tanev. Obviously, there was a switch made. Morgan Barron played up on the third line. Obviously, that didn't give them the offensive boost that they wanted. I thought there could have been some, blendering by Scott O'Neill at some point in that game in the second period when things weren't going well for the Jets, but he stuck with the lines. We'll wait and see what happens for game 5. Obviously, guys, there's another 2 days between game 4 and game 5, but this Blues team is proving to be a very difficult out for the Jets in the first round. They're a good team. Like, Braden Schen's line is outplaying the Nemesnikov line.
Well, Ezzy, I'm pretty sure you could outplay the Nemesnikov line right now because they have not. No. I mean, this is worth saying, Drew. They haven't shown up. I mean, Vlad Nemesnikov, Nino Niederreiter, and Cole Perfetti less so than those other 2. I mean, you guys signed in extensions, right? Like you're supposed to be part of the. And again, I understand they're both stepping in. These guys should not be in your top 6. Well, I guess not Vlad Nemesnikov, but Nino Niederreiter specifically. But the fact of the matter is, if you are elevated, you are supposed to be able to, in a pinch, be able to kind of help. They're not helping. They're not doing anything. Mason Appleton, what is he doing? Like, to me, this is a collective team flaw. Sure, Connor Hellebuyck is the most egregious. It looks the worst on him. But I mean, collectively as a group, this team has not looked good. The team, like, aside from what Ezzy just said, the fourth line has tried to kick in. They've tried to bring up the energy level. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is a collective team loss. I mean, they really haven't had the fortitude to get back into this contest, and they had it. They could have. I mean, it was a 2-1 game, right? You give up three
Yeah.
goals in, what was it, 3 goals in 8 minutes?
Yeah, late
So,
in
I
the
mean-
second period, Mason Appleton did have that chance where Bennington got a piece of it and it
Yeah.
hit the crossbar. So I just wanted to mention that. But I mean, again,
It's
as a
3
whole,
goals in 8 minutes and 8 seconds.
yeah, so Appleton had that one good scoring chance in the second period, but we're talking about the totality of a game here.
That's right.
And the first period was great, but Jets badly outchanced, outshot, everything. The Jets were the better team in the first period. That didn't continue for much of the second period. And that's the issue here, guys, is that the Jets are having trouble just establishing anything offensively in the blue zone, right? Like we've talked about it. Yeah, it's nice to get these goals off of the rush, and it's nice to score 2-on-1 goals or breakaway goals or everything like that. I don't know if I can ever remember a series where there's less odd man rushes than this series, right? Like there just
the Jets'
isn't.
goal was off the cycle. It certainly wasn't an odd man rush.
And you're just not seeing like one like I mentioned in the first line, in the first period. Remember, Jared Anderson-Dolan made a nice pass out to David Gustafson in the slot, and he forced Bennington to make a good save. But so the fourth line comes out with a good shift. So follow that up, right? And obviously on the Connor goal, the Scheifele-Connor Iafallo line had like a 45-second shift in the blue zone, but it was too few and far between, guys. Like we just didn't see enough of that, and you didn't see a lot of that in Game 3, and you certainly didn't see a lot of that in the first period of Game 2. We know that the Jets only really turned it on in the second period. So, I mean, the Jets have got to elevate their game. This is now a 3-game series. It went from a possible sweep to now it's going to take at least 6 games to beat the Blues. So obviously Dave M's pick isn't looking too good.
To that point, Ezzy, there's no reason
had to get a shot in there for Dave M.
There's no reason to think the Jets are going to beat the Blues. I mean, find me some optimism. I mean, and we'll talk about it throughout the course of the post-game show, the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by our friends at Play Now. But find me some optimism. Where's that optimism coming from? You have a goaltender right now who can't save a beach ball.
We got to find some optimism because we got 520 people watching live on YouTube. Drew. We better find
they want realism. They want realism. They don't necessarily want blind optimism.
Drew, you've known me for 25 years. Is there any realism in my life?
No, there's not. That's a very good point, in fact. But right now, St. Louis is going to say, hey, we just need to, let's make the Jets do something to us. Right now, we have them on their heels. Right now, they can't establish that forecheck that was so effective, knocking down pucks, winning puck battles in the offensive zone. They haven't been able to do that against us at any point during this series.
By the way, I started a poll if you want to vote in the YouTube chat. So who do you think will win this best of 3 series? Blues or Jets, sorry. Submit your vote and we'll read everyone the
I can't see the poll, Dave. Where is it?
You have to watch it. You're not in the YouTube chat.
It's on YouTube. Okay. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Matt Hyman wanted a
I'd like
poll.
to vote.
I give the people what you can't vote, Ezzy. You're not a voter. Let the people vote.
But I mean, again,
I thought Drew was going to somehow tie in a federal election in here. Somehow.
I wasn't going to. I'm keeping politics out of it. We've been very good at keeping politics out of this show, unless it comes to the on-ice politics and the politics around the NHL. We'll leave the federal politics for whatever other show wants to handle that. But you go to this, and I'm befuddled. I know that you were talking about the second line, Dave, and you were saying that Nemesnikov, Perfetti, and Niederreiter, haven't been good enough. And Ezzy, you said that as well, and I agree wholeheartedly. No question. No offense from that line is not a solution, not something the Jets can have happen. I just keep going back to Adam Lowry, and I'm sorry. I think back to the Jets 1.0 when they first came back to Winnipeg. 2.0 when they first came back to Winnipeg, and Andrew Ladd was still the captain of the team. Mm-hmm. And you could almost tell within the first few minutes of the game the kind of game it was going to be if Andrew Ladd was engaged physically from the outset. If he was throwing a body check on that first couple shifts that he played, where he was making his presence known, you knew that the Jets were going to play the style that they wanted to play. Now, they all didn't often win because they just weren't talented enough, but it wasn't necessarily for a lack of effort. I need Adam Lowry to step up and set the tone for the Winnipeg Jets. And I said that on yesterday morning's Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And I'm willing to give them a pass for Game 3 because I thought Game 3 being up 2-0, you can maybe get a little bit of a mulligan on that game. Obviously, losing 7-2 is beyond, but so be it. That happened. To have it happen again and to not have your leaders step up, and by leader specifically, the spotlight is on Adam Lowry in this instance. And I don't expect Adam Lowry to all of a sudden get 2 goals and 2 assists because that's not Adam Lowry's game. But Adam Lowry needs to be the one establishing that forecheck, establishing the Jets' presence for the 60 minutes of tonight's game. And I haven't seen that from him at this point in time. And to me, he is the one who needs to be the best player for the Jets, or certainly one of the most impactful players for the Jets if they want to turn the tide starting Wednesday night with Game 5. To me, he has the spotlight shining brightest on him at this point in time.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Drew. I mean, look at the stat line. He had 6 hits and he won almost 70% of his faceoffs, right? Like, so I'm just saying, like, I don't think Lowry had an awful game. Could he offer more? I think, to be honest with you, I think every line could offer more. I mean, I don't think you're asking much more out of the fourth line. I mean, you've already got a couple goals in the series from the fourth line. The fourth line is the fourth line. The second line, obviously, we've talked about it. Nemesnikov and Niederreiter have 0 points through the first 4 games. Like, the series is half over, right, guys? It's more than half over. You've got 3 games left. And so the second line has got to be better. I mean, there's cause for concern. I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I'm not prepared to say that the Blues are the favorite in the series. I do think the Jets have to make adjustments. I think they have to move the puck quicker out of their own zone. I think they have to be better defensively in front of Connor Hellebuck. It's a grind, man. Like, this series there's a lot of trench warfare happening in this series. There's a lot of battles in front of the net. The Blues are throwing their weight around. Like, I feel like a guy like Alexei Torpchenko, who's a fourth liner on the Blues, has been noticeable throwing his weight around out there on the penalty kill, right? Like, so Dave, I think there's a lot of areas for concern on this team, but I don't think this series is over. I think there's still a lot of good hockey to come for the Jets. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I agree. No, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that can be corrected. And I would agree with Ezzy. I don't think you can pinpoint. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck is our focus because, again, you can't be the guy and then not be the guy. And again, no, I will give Connor Hellebuck credit. When he wins an award, he tends to defer to the team and the team's success. And that's the reason why he's having individual success. So I suspect that he would suggest the same when he's not having success, when they're losing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I said, there's not enough guys who are playing as drivers. That's just the plain and simple of it. I mean, when, sure, Adam, you can focus on Adam Lowry, as he outlined why Lowry has been fine in this game. But at the end of the day, Drew, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at these guys and say, well, where's the response? You go down 2-1 and, Mark Scheifele, you want to be talked about for Team Canada. You want to be talking, I'm not blaming Mark Scheifele solely. I'm just saying that you want to put this team on you. You've got to have a guy who's going to put a team on his back and become a driver and just say, we're getting back into this. Because, you knew, to be honest with you, when it was 2-1, I thought, okay, Jets are down. They've been playing pretty good. That's an unfortunate goal, but they're not out of this game. 3-1, I was a little less certain at that point. At 3-1, I thought, that's tough. And again, 4-1, okay, it's over, Rock. Like, they're just throwing the towel time and just get us to the post-game show. But like I said, you do look at this team and you think you can't necessarily blame it on the absent players because you had a 2-0 series advantage. Like, to me, I also wonder the decision to, when you knew you weren't going to have last change and the deep pairings weren't going to be, the defensive matchups weren't going to be the ones you wanted. Does it make sense to have Luke Schenn, his foot speed is not where it needs to be, in the lineup? Colin Miller, I thought, played a pretty good game when he was pressed into service. I probably would have left Colin Miller in the game, to be honest with you.
Me too.
For today's game. I actually liked Colin Miller's game in game 3. And I actually would have pulled Luke Schenn because I didn't think Luke Schenn had a particularly good game. And I would have said, to me, I understand he's got the experience. I understand the physicality. I think that's better in the home environment where you can control the matchups a little bit better and then have Luke Schenn maybe sit for these away games. That's been my own personal sort of view of this. And then have Miller and Stanley in as your third pairing. I thought that would have been probably better. I'm not blaming it all on the third pairing, of course, boys, but I'm just saying, I just would have, that move was, I cut that one as curious when we saw Hayden Fleury come in for Logan Stanley and, Colin Miller, of course, was out. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those games that you're right, Drew. I mean, if you look at it collectively, Josh Morrissey is a guy who, people want as a Norris Trophy winner. Not a winner, sorry, but the guy who's in the Norris Trophy conversation.
In the same breath as Makar and Heiskanen,
and again, he's
Hughes and
he's a phenomenal. He's the best defenseman on this team. No and question. What about Dylan Sandberg? I mean, Dylan Sandberg is not having the best playoffs. I mean, we were writing checks for 8x8 to Dylan Sandberg, and he is.
I would
again,
still write that check, by the way.
I'm not suggesting otherwise. Yes, again, like it's a collect.
Yeah, as we know, though, your checks bounce very, very high.
He's
Set
gonna
you up for that one.
He's gonna get better. He'll get better anyways. But again, this is his first year in that role as a top 4 defenseman. So there's a lot more responsibility on his shoulders in the playoffs. I'm just saying collectively as this group. I mean, I think you win as a team in hockey and you lose as a team in hockey. And I think I would look at this and see another instance where collectively this group failed. I wouldn't point at one individual. Maybe obviously you said the spotlight was brightest on Adam Lowry. I'd say the spotlight is brightest on Connor Hellebuyck.
I'm talking about for Game 5. I mean,
I'd still say for Game 5, it's got to be Connor Hellebuyck. Right.
But I'm talking about, okay, yes, Connor Hellebuyck, if he plays like he played tonight, it doesn't matter how the forward groups for the Jets do. But it's, you on the analysis and the intermissions, and it's not great analysis by any stretch of the imagination, but I agree with the idea that the Jets are playing far too much in their own zone. They haven't been able to establish the forecheck that allows them to win those puck battles and flip the ice. It's been far too much in their own zone. And that to me is where they need to start winning some battles, board battles in the blue zone and establishing a presence in the blue zone. And as he talked about that, the first goal of the game, the only goal for the Winnipeg Jets, comes with them winning some board battles, with them hunting pucks. How often did we hear this year them say how good they are at hunting pucks and how they were successful because they hunted pucks? Well, this series, the last 2 games, they haven't been able to do that. So you now need to find out why you haven't been able to do it. Have you not been able to do it because St. Louis has been too strong and too physical, and as a result, you're not interested in getting into those areas? Is it an adjustment that Jim Montgomery has made that Scott Arniel hasn't figured out the counter adjustment to? And maybe he does with last change on Wednesday night. These are the things that the Jets now have to spend 48 hours figuring out, because if your performance is anything similar to the final 40 minutes, 35 minutes of today's game, this series is going to be done in 6, and you're going to be golfing before the end of April. I guess it won't be before the end of April because Thursday's May 1st. So you know what I'm saying.
Before the beginning of May, I think is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Before the Victoria Day long weekend. That's what the Jets need to figure out at this point in time, is they need to figure out what has gone so wrong over the last 2 games and counteract it. And so they'll do the X's and O's side of things, because they always do. But X's and O's on a whiteboard only go so far. It needs to be the players themselves who execute those X's and O's, and Connor Hellebuyck, who makes the saves when the X's and O's break down. And that, to me, is where the Winnipeg Jets, the players, need to be the ones who take it upon themselves to say, not for a 3rd straight year are we going out as meekly as we look like we are right now.
And just to give you some insight from head coach Scott Arniel following the game, I'm 100% confident in Connor Hellebuyck. No surprise there. This is courtesy of our friend Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Said Arniel also spoke to the need to make Hellebuyck's life easier with better coverage, and said that Hellebuyck knows what he needs to do to help his team out. I'm 100% confident. Okay, that was another one. Mark Scheifele on the outlook ahead of Game 5. It's the best 2 out of 3 series. We know we have a home ice. We have 2 days to regroup and then back in front of our fans. We're not that happy. It's not what we want. He didn't say that part. It's not what we wanted, but it's the best 2 out of 3 series now. Jim Montgomery's quote following the game said the Blues are owning the net front. Says they're getting puck luck too, adding that that's what happens when you play the right way, and says his goalie is making saves. And that's one thing we haven't mentioned. Jordan Binnington has been excellent in this in these last couple of games. He's been excellent through the series, in my mind. He's a very good goalie, and we're seeing a goalie, Ezzy, who, when we had Jeremy Rutherford on our show 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, whatever it was, he talked about how much the change since the Four Nations has helped Jordan Binnington and how much it's, impacted him and moving forward. And so you can see it. You can see it in his play. He does not look nervous.
No, not by a long shot. He does not. And it's right. It's exactly what Jim Montgomery said. It has to do with getting to the net front, an area that teams could not penetrate on the Jets during the regular season, that the St. Louis Blues have found the magic elixir to get there, and the Jets have not done enough to prevent it from happening. It's that simple. And so as a result, they're getting some good bounces and some good deflections and some timely sticks on pucks and things of that nature. But that's also because they're standing in front of Connor Hellebuyck. when you get to stand in front of the goalie and you get the positioning, that means you're going to be in an advantageous position. The Jets need to go back to their absolute basics, something they executed so well all season long, and prevent St. Louis from getting there. And that starts on Wednesday night in what is now a best of 3 series between the Jets and the St. Louis Blues. Let's get into the particulars of this game, the goal by goal recap. It is the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Game starts with an early power play opportunity for the St. Louis Blues. Vlad Namestnikov takes a tripping penalty against Jordan Kyrou a minute and 38 seconds into the game, and you're immediately thinking, that's not the way the Jets' struggling PK wants to begin. But to their credit, they had a very efficient penalty kill. And that, I thought, was sort of the tide turning in that first period for the Winnipeg Jets. After they kill that penalty, they then get the 2 subsequent minor penalties. The Blues take them both. It is Pavel Buchnevich for roughing against Mark Scheifele, Tyler Tucker for tripping against Brandon Tanev. The Jets don't score on either of those power play opportunities, but they establish zone presence in the St. Louis zone. They get some opportunities. They get some shots. They move the puck well. It was good flow to the game at this point in time through the first 10 minutes or so at that point in time. And then the Jets do get on the board first. And it's Kyle Connor getting his 3rd of the series, assist to Cole Perfetti and Dylan Samberg. And it comes on an extended shift for the Winnipeg Jets in the blue zone. So much so that they're able to get that Perfetti out there. They're in the midst of a line change. They hunt those pucks that I was talking about. And ultimately, after Perfetti just misses, it goes onto the stick of Kyle Connor, who backhands it in off of Jordan Binnington's pad and gives the Jets an all-important 1-0 lead this with 6 minutes and 2 seconds to go in a first period that the Jets have largely controlled.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were going to give that the Seagram shot of the game, Drew. But
I guess they probably could.
Yeah.
It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a good shift by a good sustained shift by the Jets. Obviously, you talk about it. Jake Neighbors has a chance to clear the puck, fails to do so. Mark Scheifele does some good work in front of the net, and then obviously the puck comes back to Dylan Samberg, who takes a shot, and then Cole Perfetti. It's the Parayko Cam Fowler pairing out there, and after the shot comes from Samberg, Perfetti does a nice job just beating Fowler in front of the net to a rebound, and then the puck's free and kind of squibbles loose to Kyle Connor, who backhands the puck past Binnington. So it was just a hard-working shift by the Jets. Good work by Scheifele in front. Good work by Perfetti, who came off the bench for Iafallo. So the Jets were rewarded there. And at the time, I think the shots were something like 10-3 or 12-3, something like that. So all the pressure and the momentum was coming from the Jets. And they have to have more of that. That's the issue, guys, is that, it's easy for us to say Hellebuck had a bad game, or, the Jets special teams is not coming through, but we just haven't seen enough offensive pressure in this series, right? And I think it's because of the style of play, right? Like if there's one type of team that the Jets have struggled against this year, it's the tight checking defensive team. Like think about the losses to the LA Kings, right? Sure. So again, this is not a pretty goal scored by the top line. This is just a hardworking goal where Perfetti's at the side of the net, beats out Fowler, and then Connor, jumps on a rebound. We just have to see more of that. But obviously, it was a big goal for Connor, who gets his 3rd of the series. But I just didn't see enough of that today, Dave.
I just thought I would only add as the Perfetti's reaction after he doesn't score is hilarious, because he's like looking at this guy. He's like, "Are you kidding me? How did I not get that goal?" And then not that it mattered, but then 2 seconds later, Kyle Connor makes it a 1-0 game, and you just kind of felt, okay, Blues got an early chance. Jets weathered that early power play. Jets killed that. Jets start to put on the pressure, have a good power play, get a goal. And you're like, okay, this team's riding. But it's funny. It was one of those games. It's 1-0. And it's like, even when it was 1-1, you thought to yourself, like, this is a game where the Jets feel like they probably deserve to have like a 3-1 lead or a 2-0 lead. And yet it's within a goal, within striking distance for St. Louis. This is before they scored with 22 seconds to go. And you got to think to yourself, like, again, Bennington's holding his team into it, right? Because the Jets are out shooting them, was it 12-5, I think, or 12-4 maybe.
Well, like you said, the Blues went about 15 minutes without getting a shot on goal.
It was
after
12-4 because their fifth shot, I believe, was the goal against Connor Hellebuck with 22.7 to go. So the Jets are feeling good about themselves, but not too good because, again, like I said, they've only got that 1-goal lead. And I'm not saying at this point they're fragile, but it's tough knowing that you're playing a good game, you weathered the storm, and yet you don't have something that's insurmountable.
Let me stop right now and talk about Gabe Vilardi for a second, because he took the morning skate, or they took the pregame warm-up, rather, and he was regular white jersey on yesterday's practice.
Yeah.
All signs point to him playing for the Winnipeg Jets on Wednesday. So much so that I would be shocked if he's not in Jets lineup on Wednesday. Given his return, where does he slot for the Winnipeg Jets on Wednesday? What happens to the Winnipeg Jets
first line right wing
lines? Sorry, as he say it again?
He's going to go to the top line. I mean, we talked about this with Kenny Wiebe. I mean, that was one of the most dominant lines in the regular season. I think you have to, and this is my own personal opinion, but I think you have to go back to Vilardi with Connor and Scheif.
But given how bad offensively the Perfetti, Nemesnikov, Niederreiter line has been, do you give any thought, Dave, to balancing that out? Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo have been effective, even in this series. You have had no offense, particularly from the Mesnikov and Niederreiter. Perfetti's been so close on so many opportunities. You could argue he scored in game 2, but didn't count. Close again today. Do you give any thought to changing what Ezzy just said? Because I understand where before the series that would have been a no-brainer, and that's why Kenny Wiebe said the same thing. Do you give any thought to maybe adjusting your mindset given your need for secondary scoring that you haven't had from anybody in that middle six for the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, from me, if he would have played today, I think he actually would have been on the fourth line because that's where he was working in yesterday in practice, as per Kenny. So, I mean, I think they would have eased him in. But now with another day, at least one more day of practice, if not 2, plus a morning skate, I'm with Ez. I think I know what you're saying, Drew, but the fact of the matter is the way you got to the playoffs, the way you secured the President's Trophy is with Gabriel Vilardi by loading them up. And so that's I mean, Scott O'Neill's already kind of hinted towards the fact that he would essentially be back on his top line. And I suspect that's exactly where you're going to see him. And then the question becomes, what do you do with Alex Iafallo? Where does he go? That's another question, but I would think that I know what you're saying in terms of giving that top line a little more balance, but I just don't see it. I just see Vilardi going right back to the right side on the Scheifele line.
No, and logically that would still necessitate some changes to additional lines underneath that top line. But to me, I mean, if you're looking, obviously he's going to be on the first power play unit, and he was working in, that's going to be a no-brainer. He's going to be, right where he was, and maybe that first power play unit gets
back down to the second.
Right, gets back to the effectiveness that it had earlier in the year with his return. But to me, it's with the struggles of that Perfetti, Nemesnikov, Niederreiter line, it becomes less of a sure thing. Do I think ultimately that you're probably both correct? I do. But I wonder if it causes some food for thought for the Jets coaching staff entering Wednesday's Game 5.
Well, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Gabe Vilardi. He hasn't played in a month or just over a month. I'm not saying that he's not going to be successful, but they're going to want him to contribute, right? So, let's not just assume that Vilardi goes back into the lineup and, the power play's fixed, everything's fixed. There's a lot that needs to be fixed based on the last 2 games of the Jets and Blues in St. Louis, right? So, I mean, I think that, we're looking at this at a macro level, and we're trying to break it down and say, what's going on with the Jets. But, hopefully Vilardi's return is going to give them a boost. But all I'm saying is he hasn't played in a while, and now he's stepping into a best of 3 situation. Right. So there's pressure on him. And Vilardi's a good player. I think he'll be just fine. But
it's not fair to expect to be a game changer. I mean, I would think that would be an unfair expectation that a guy, to your point, as he hasn't played in a month, is, going to obviously should have a positive impact on the Jets, but it's not like he's single-handedly going to be able to carry this team to lofty heights after missing a month worth of action.
The other thing to consider though, Drew, is you may see Velarde on the top line, but you may also see Iafallo shifting in there. You may see him in more controlled minutes for his first game back. I mean, he has missed, I think, 13 regular season games, now 4 playoff games, like as he says, just over a month. So it has been quite a bit of time. So that's the concern. He's healed up, but his conditioning right. He's been skating with these guys.
Right.
And so they're giving him an extra 3 days between games to not, or since he last skated, I guess, for him to be able to kind of get back in there. And I do expect him to have an immediate impact on the power play. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a power play goal in his return, because he's that effective on the power play. With all due respect to Cole Perfetti, he's a good player, but he's not Gabriel Velarde. He's not Gabriel Velarde in the front. Doesn't do what Velarde does, and it just seems like there's too much redundancy in that regard. So you have Velarde there, and I think there's an immediate impact there. And look, if the Jets can score on the power play again, make power plays great again, I mean, there's a good chance that he could, have an impact on the game, even if it isn't necessarily at 5-on-5.
1-0 for the Jets after the Kyle Connor goal. It looked like they were going to get it into the first intermission, tied up with that 1-goal lead until 23 seconds to go. Jake Neighbors with the tip of the Colton Parayko point shot, assist to also Cam Fowler, who's been, he didn't get as many points tonight, but he was certainly been noticeable this series. And the Blues tied up at 1 goal apiece. It starts with St. Louis winning a board battle in the Jets zone. They, and then from there, Neighbors gets to the front of the net. Nobody is on him. Hayden Fleury is slow and late to get back to tie up Jake Neighbors. And he gets a nifty little tip on a knuckle puck, and he beats Connor Hellebuyck with this one. I can't necessarily blame Hellebuyck for it, because Hellebuyck just minutes before this had made a real nice save on Braden Shen, probably one of his better saves of the game. Unfortunate for the Jets that they lose the board battle, and Neighbors is in the right spot to deflect it past Hellebuyck and tie it up at 1 goal apiece.
I don't think there's really much more to say, Drew, than what you just said. I mean, it's a good tip by Jake Neighbors. Like that to me is a routine save usually for Connor Hellebuyck. And he's had trouble with tips in the past, not just in this series, but the high tips. Remember last year in the first round against the Colorado Avalanche, how many goals were high tips? I don't remember. It seemed like there were like 10 in that series. It might have been a little bit less than that, but I mean, this is just a nice tip by Neighbors. And Hellebuyck, obviously it changes direction on him. And you could look at it like 2 ways. You could say, well, Hellebuyck's got to make those types of saves, but there's also like traffic in front of the net, right? Neighbors is there. I think Sundqvist was also in front of the net, or maybe
Hayden Fleury's out of position here. He's not covering anybody. It's a bit of a scramble after the Jets lose the board battle, but Hayden Fleury, again, I mean, he's not known for being a defensive stalwart, and it's hard to really blame him for his first game, in a while coming into this one, but he's covering air. He needs to get back and get his stick on Neighbors and tie Neighbors up, and he doesn't. And that's what allows Neighbors to sort of deflect that puck past Hellebuyck. I mean, there's just these breakdowns that the Jets didn't have this season very often have been rearing their ugly head for the last 2 games. And that's really where the problems lie for the Winnipeg Jets. 1-1 after 20 minutes. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now. We also want to give a shout-out to all of our sponsors, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Seagram's, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, the 2025 Rady JCC Sports Dinner, and City Place, where we will be prior to Game 5 for the Illegal Curve pregame show on Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. We're live. The second floor of City Place in the food court. We'll be there getting these set for the Jets and the Blues, also live, of course, on all of our social media platforms and our YouTube channel. Second period begins, and the Blues take a 2-1 lead at the 10:46 mark of the period. Tyler Tucker gets the goal. It's a point shot, a nice pass from Nick Leddy, and Alexander Tessier also getting an assist here. Connor Hellebuyck has to make this save. I know that Brandon Tanev is in no man's land, and he's probably screening Hellebuyck to some degree. This shot, in this instance, at this point in time, for your Vezina Trophy winning goaltender, cannot go in the net. I don't care about the circumstances. He needs to make this save. This, to me, is the most egregious of the goals that Connor Hellebuyck gave up in today's game. And clearly the Jets took it as a backbreaker, given their lack of pushback after this one, Ezzy.
Well, that's saying a lot because the Braden Shen goal that comes after this was
that was bad also.
Pretty bad too. But yeah, look, it's a point shot, and Brandon Tanev, like you have to get a piece of that. You like he does the old goes out to block it, and then he turns the other way and doesn't block it at all. And in the process, like you said, may have distracted Connor Hellebuyck. But you had Oscar Sundqvist in front of the net battling with, I think it was Josh Morrissey. Yeah. So and you could tell after that goal, guys, Connor Hellebuyck looked over to the referee, like maybe trying to indicate that maybe Oscar Sundqvist got a piece of him. He didn't get a piece of him. He was just in front of the net, taking his eyes away. And like Drew said, this shot comes from 55, 60 feet from the point. And good for Tyler Tucker. That was his first career playoff goal. But in that situation, you got to come through with a save there.
Yeah, you have to make that save. There's nothing, those screens that are out there, you don't like where Brandon Tanev's playing it. And frankly, I don't think Brandon Tanev has been that good for the Jets in this series, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. You don't like how he's playing this one. Sundqvist is where he is, but he's not in front of Hellebuyck, causing a chaotic screen. He's just sort of a flyby. Hellebuyck has to fight through this one and make the save. The Shen goal, which we're going to get to in a second, at least that's a puck right in front of the blue paint. So you don't love how Hellebuyck plays that one, and we'll get to it. But this is a point shot that it should be a relatively routine save. It's a hard shot. There's a little bit of traffic. But if you're Connor Hellebuyck, this is a save you have to make, Dave.
Yeah, no, and, it's interesting. But it's another instance where the Jets have the puck on their stick and they give it away. Dylan DeMello had that puck. And if he puts it into traffic, right, he doesn't put it into kind of the behind the net where I think it was Josh Morrissey or one of the forwards who was there. And so instead he just gives it up. And I understand there was pressure on him, but he just throws it away and he allows the Blues. And that's one of the areas I thought the Jets were doing a little bit too much of. I thought in today's game was that they're giving up possession of the puck when they needed to maintain it. And I understand you're going for a line change, but then hang on to it. And instead they're just giving up the puck and they're giving the Blues a chance. And here's another example where they had the puck on their stick and he just tosses it away into the corner, but of course it rims the boards and ends up on the stick of the Blues player who keeps it in and cycles it and ends up in the back of your net. And sure, you could say, well, Josh Morrissey could have done a better job of boxing out Sundqvist because you got to give him credit, taking away the eyes and kind of going past. And yeah, Brandon Tanev has to make a decision because I agree with you, Drew. I don't think he's been very impactful. I mean, look, we saw him get dropped down to the fourth line, and I think he hasn't really done much. And again, like I said, like he was brought in to be part of the PK solution, and the PK obviously has given up quite a bit of, not today, but like quite a few goals. So in this series. So it's a problem. And yeah, so I don't love the way they're playing, but it is a backbreaker because one of the areas of positivity really was the ability to fight through those types of long shots that were getting past, from distance and to be giving those types of goals up. You're right. He just made a nice save, but it is kind of a backbreaker because it's really on a nothing play. But the Blues are relentless in this regard, right? The Blues are waiting for their opportunity, and it comes, midway through the second period, and you're starting to think, okay, is this going to be the turning point? Which obviously it was.
Yeah, 2-1 for the St. Louis Blues at this point in time. And, again, Jets are trailing now, fragile. That's what I said. Soft. That's how they've been playing for a lot of this game. How are they going to respond? Well,
for the record, to this point, they weren't soft and they weren't fragile.
Right. But
I would say it starts to begin at this point, but I wouldn't say that through this point. I would say the Jets actually played a very good first
period,
first 19 minutes for sure, because that last minute goal against, and even in the beginning of the second, I thought they were good. But it, again, hockey's a 60-minute game, and you can't rest on your laurels and say, well, hey, we played a great 30 minutes, Ezzy.
Well, and the worst part about this, guys, is Lowry. That was a pretty bad call, Lowry roughing on Tyler Tucker.
Atrocious.
But, I mean, again, we're 4 games into the series, Dave, and I feel like there's 1 or 2 penalties every game. Look, we're not blaming the refs. The Jets didn't lose this game today because of the refs,
100%.
But they killed the penalty off, and that's what's so unfortunate about it. So you're down 2-1, you kill off a penalty that probably shouldn't have been called, and then Braden Shen comes back and
5 seconds after the penalties is over.
Exactly, and Sandberg falls in front of the net, and Hellebuyck just I didn't like how kind of casual he was with his stick there. Like you got to do more than that. If you're going to try to take the puck away from Schenn, you got to be harder there. And again, it's easy for me to say to criticize, like we've said, the Vezina Trophy winning goalie. He hasn't won it yet, but we obviously know he's going to win his third Vezina. So that was just loose defensive coverage.
This is my point, though, Ezzy, is he's in front of the net. Brayden Schenn is in front of the net. Somebody needs to put him on his ass.
Yes.
Somebody needs to put a body on him. He walks in. He gets a clean zone entry into the Jets' blue line.
Yeah, there's a flyby with Mark Scheifele in the neutral zone.
Mark Scheifele flyby at the blue line. Then he walks in, and it's Lowry is chasing. He's in a chase position coming out of the box, so he's not really back in the play yet. But somebody, if it's
watch
Luke
Kyle
Schenn,
Connor, watch Kyle Connor on the replay on this goal.
That's right. Luke Schenn gets walked at the blue line as well. Somebody needs to put a body on these Blues players and make it painful for them to get to the front of the net. That's what the Jets did so well all regular season long, is they made teams pay to get to the dirty areas. This was a freebie. It's an Olay. You're a matador in a bull. And that's exactly what the Blues were here. They just went right into where they needed to go to make a 3-1 lead late, with 2 minutes and 37 seconds to go in the second period, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to use a word that you like to use, Drew. The Blues are playing connected hockey. I mean, this is you have to credit. I mean, we can pillory the Jets, which we will do, but you got to connect. You got to give the Blues credit, because it's just a really nice. Neighbors makes a great pass to Parayko, who's trying to get it back to Schenn inadvertently, he was trying to get to what's his name, Kyrou in front, and it ends up going to Schenn because it gets deflected. But you can just see the way the Blues are moving up quick. And look, I hated the penalty. And if the penalty was called, for the record, against the St. Louis Blues, I would have hated the penalty, because it's a terrible penalty.
The standard has been set.
Standard's atrocious. I don't give a shit.
The standard is atrocious, but it has been set. The referees have been consistent. I don't like it.
Consistently bad. Fine.
The standard is dog crap.
It's soft. It's soft. Don't get me wrong. The penalty calls are soft.
It's the playoffs. It's not supposed to be soft. I mean, sorry.
But they set the standard.
Playoffs?
Standard is players know what the standard has.
I don't think.
To
be honest with you, I do not think players know what what it is.
Through the first 4 games, the players should know that anything extracurricular, somebody is going to get taken, and they're only going to take one guy.
Yeah.
So now you have to have the mindset of knowing.
No, I agree. You have to have control of your emotions, no, for sure. But I just, again, like I said, it's the playoffs. Guys do shit behind.
The problem, Dave, is the standard is inconsistent. That's what the problem is. When you set an inconsistent standard.
Consistent this series,
right?
Yeah.
It's been consistent this series.
Okay,
consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is that the Jets think that they've killed another one, which they have. But like you said, I mean, Lowry's coming out of the box. And the Jets,
but the problem, sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
The problem is, even though Lowry's coming out of the box, this is a 3-on-3 situation, right?
Oh,
the Jets, like you said, I mean, Schenn comes out to play neighbors, right? So now Schenn's out of position so that he doesn't have position on Brayden Schenn, right? Like Brayden Schenn's the one. Jake Neighbors makes the pass, so Brayden Schenn and Colton Parayko's up there.
Yeah.
So now Schenn's out of position, but also Kyle Connor comes back slow into his defensive zone.
And Connor's on Kyrou. So
he's on Kyrou, but the problem is he's not really on Kyrou. There's two guys, there's 2 Blues in front of the net, right? Yeah. So like that, Lowry coming out of the box, that explains one guy. Well, why are there 2 guys wide open in front of Hellebuyck, right? Like, so it was just bad defensive coverage by the Jets, right? Like, and again, like Sandberg slipped, so that throws everything off, and then Hellebuyck doesn't make a very good play on Schenn. But like Drew said, I mean, the staple of this team has been how they've protected the house, how they've protected the middle of the ice, how they've always maintained their structure and everything like that. And the Blues guys have taken them out of the structure with their aggressive physicality and forecheck. That's what's happened to me, especially in these last 2 games. And the Jets have got to deal with it. Like Drew said, I mean, and I mentioned, kind of like trench warfare. Like, that's the type of series this is, guys. How many hits were there last game? Like 150 or something like that? Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but like, this is not the Oilers versus the Kings. That's not this series. This series is, like Paul Maurice used to call it, a grinder. This is a series that is board battles in front of the net. Who gets the last whack at the puck? Like, that's the type of fight that the Jets are in here. Mm-hmm. And they've lost the last 2 games.
Make somebody pay for where they want to go. Make somebody have to, go through players and sticks and make them feel pain. And I don't mean do it in a way that gets you penalized, but do it so that they begin to have second thoughts about if they want to do it. Because I think St. Louis has given the Jets those second thoughts, and the Jets haven't given them back to St. Louis. And that to me is a huge problem and a huge story of certainly the last two games, but in part because, the Jets did win the first two, but they certainly didn't get through those first two games unscathed. St. Louis was hitting everything that moved. And I think the cumulative effect of all of those hits are beginning to render itself and show itself in games 3 and 4 of this series. 3-1 at this point, 4-1 a minute and let me do some simple math here. 31 seconds later, it deflects in off of Neil Pionk. It's a point shot from Justin Falk. It's, I don't have it's a good bounce. It's a fortuitous bounce, but look where Falk is. He's sort of to the side of Pionk. It's an ugly goal, but St. Louis is getting the bounces on this one. And the point is that he is where he needs to be to have the puck sort of deflect off of Pionk, because Pionk has to be there to cover him. An ugly goal, but for the St. Louis Blues, it's effective, and it's because they're playing the right way. And as Jim Montgomery said in his post-game comments, they're playing the right way. They're playing the right way allows them to get this fortuitous bounce off of Neil Pionk and past Connor Hellebuyck to make it 4-1 at the end of 40 minutes. 4 unanswered goals for the St. Louis Blues, an atrocious period for the Winnipeg Jets, and really the beginning of the end of the game, certainly, as there was no pushback from the Jets in the third period.
Yeah, like if you thought Braden Shen's late second period goal was a backbreaker, this really was the backbreaker, because you're down 3 goals. You're most likely not going to be scoring 5 goals on Binnington to win this game. And it's like Dave said earlier about, these battles in the corner where Nemesnikov and Niederreiter are there, and Kyrou comes out and he picks up the puck and gets it to Shen, who gets the shot on net. And then Neighbors gets it back to Justin Falk, who, again, do they benefit from the bounce off of Pionk? Yeah. I mean, we're not going to really call this anything but a lucky goal going off of, I forget if it was Pionk's behind or his skate or whatever, his leg doesn't matter. Pionk is doing a good job of, I think it's Kyrou that he's trying to box out there in front of the net, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, he's doing a good job there. But again, these are the little things in hockey, right? Coming out of these battles in the corner with the puck, extended plays. The Blues are the ones that are having the extended zone time, the extended pressure. The Jet, we're just not seeing enough of that. So again, are we saying the sky's falling? No, we're not saying the sky's falling. There's a lot of hockey to be played. We know the Jets are one of the best. No, they were the best home team during the regular season. Obviously, they were one of the best road team as well, but I mean, they've got to step up their game. They've got to elevate their game. This, again, goes back to what I said and what Drew was saying. This is a physical, tight checking, hard series. This is the Blues have elevated their game, right? We talked about, they threw a lot at the Jets in game 2, but the Jets were able to overcome that and take the game over. We haven't seen that in this game, even despite a good start. The Jets were not able to carry this through the second period, which obviously was a disaster with the Blues scoring 3 goals here. But that's the type of hockey it's going to be. So I think too many of these point shots are getting through, right, guys? It goes back to the kind of basics of hockey. This is not a speed series. This is a series that is coming down to losing a battle here, losing a battle there, allowing too many point shots, and not winning those net front battles. To me, that's what's happened here. It has not been a successful couple games in St. Louis, and the Jets have got to elevate here.
I want to read this quote to you, Dave. Sorry. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Well, we first of all, we welcome everyone here on this Illegal Curve postgame show, including Brad Nichols, who says, Blues fan here. I like your postgame analyst better. And honestly, I don't think the Blues have outskilled the Jets. I truly just feel like the Jets haven't shown up. So that's for the folks who are listening after this on the podcast.
Welcome, Brad.
So welcome, Brad. Brad, one thing we tell everyone, make sure you smash that like button. And, even though you're a Blues fan, you might want to subscribe and listen to that analysis throughout the course of the season. We also do a Saturday show. So welcome aboard to Brad and welcome aboard to everybody else who's joining us here. The angry folks. There's a lot of angry folks. So make sure you smash that like button. And I was just going to say, I was going to add one thing. I think what to me is a perfect illustration of this, the Jets right now, is you've got the numbers. Falk goes in for the puck, and Niederreiter and Nemesnikov are right there. There's 2 Jets. Falk is by himself. And who ends up coming up with the puck? Falk. So there's no Falcon way that the Jets should have allowed that to play out. Thank you. And instead, they don't. The Blues cycle it and end up with that 4-1 back. That's the real backbreaker at that point.
Sure. And the Blues make it 5-1. I mean, the third period. I mean, the Jets aren't going to get 3 goals in the third period to come back in this game, as he mentioned. But the Blues pour a little salt in the wound. 2 minutes and 1 second in Robert Thomas, his second of the playoffs, assist to Sundqvist and Buchnevich. More, Connor, with the drop pass to Morrissey. Unfortunately, Morrissey zigged when Connor thought he was going to zag. The Blues come in, and then Robert Thomas is just allowed to go right to the front of the Jets net. It deflects in off of Dylan DeMello, but you can see not a great back check by Kyle Connor, even though he had 2 very good back checks, I think, in the first period that broke up St. Louis scoring opportunities.
Yeah. Buchnevich both times.
Yeah, so, you like him on the horse there, but you can see that this, it's a 2-on-2, and then Thomas beats Kyle Connor, and then he gets to the front of the net, and it's 3-on-2, and that's the end of the night for Connor Hellebuyck. That's the end of the night for the goal scoring. 5-1 for the St. Louis Blues. Eric Comrie gets into the net for the second consecutive game. Mercy pull for Connor Hellebuyck. And the shot of the game is the one that the St. Louis Blues fans delivered to Connor Hellebuyck, chanting, "We want Connor," after Eric Comrie made a couple of saves in that third period. It is brought to you by Seagram's.
The Seagram's shot of the game.
Thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Seagram's 83. Some people might be turning to a bottle after that performance. Manitoba's #1 whiskey, the gauntlet laid down by the St. Louis Blues fans with that chant. That was a clever one, I thought. We'll see how the Jets respond to that, if Connor Hellebuyck uses that as some sort of fuel and motivation. But the Jets certainly need to be better all around, and they need their all-world goaltender to show up and be that all-world goaltender on Wednesday night. Otherwise, this series could end very quickly in 6 games back in St. Louis, whenever Game 6 is.
Absolutely.
6 is what, Friday?
Yes.
Okay. It's so, it's always 2 games. They get 2 days between games, and then except for the game 6 and 7, where it's only 1 day between travel days. It's confusing.
Yeah. We obviously don't know the time yet, but we know it's going to be Friday, and it's going to be May at that point, May 2nd, in fact. But I expect Connor Hellebuyck to be better. I think you guys also expect Connor Hellebuyck to be better. Most observers believe that. I mean, even though his numbers in the playoffs have certainly taken a hit, especially these last 2 games, allowing 11 goals, right, guys? But on that 5th goal, again, Connor has speed in the blue zone. He has Alex Iafallo up the middle, and he just makes an errant pass to Josh Morrissey. Again, these are things that are above and beyond just saying, the Blues have played well, and their forecheck and their physicality have been an issue for the Jets. The Jets are inflicting wounds on themselves, self-inflicted wounds, I would say, especially on this goal, right? And so Josh Morrissey now, he's chasing a little bit. It becomes a 3-on-2. But again, Josh Morrissey, he's just a step behind Robert Thomas, right? He's trying to lift Robert Thomas's stick, Dave, but he's just that half a step, full step behind him, right? So again, these are just self-inflicted wounds. It's not the type of elite defensive play we're expecting from the Jets, and that's been an issue. We've obviously seen the Jets. They didn't win all 82 games, but we definitely have not seen the Jets lose 2 games in this manner, and they're in trouble. Again, I still think the Jets are going to come out on top of this series. It remains to be seen. Obviously, it depends, how optimistic you are about the Jets, but look, this is a grinder of a series, and the Blues have played well. They elevated their game in St. Louis, and the Jets are going to have to respond to the physicality of the Blues, in my opinion, and they're going to have to manage the puck better. They didn't manage the puck better. There's a lot of little things that the Jets, I think, can do better, I guess is what I'm saying, Dave, in this series.
Yeah, I would agree, as I think that they've gotten away from the structural things that they were implementing throughout the course of the season that served them well. And that's that defensive structure that, I've been posting some of the comments. I mean, the Blues have owned the front of the Jets net. And we saw that was the Achilles heel last year with the Colorado Avalanche series. So, I mean, that's not something. It's not going to be a winning formula. One of the things that, going back to what Connor Hellebuck talked about when he talked about having success was because he knew where the shots were coming from, and he was able to see them because his team basically put him in that position. So that's why I said,
I know where the shots are coming from now. They're coming from right in front of the net. That's not where they want it. They want them to be coming from, though.
Right. So we'll see that, look, we'll see what this team is made of. I think it's fascinating. And sure, I mean, I thought it was going to be an incredibly close series. I didn't think that it was going to be dominated. I didn't think that a team was going to win.
Dave, you literally took the Jets in 5.
I know, but I said, hey, if you want to go back and listen, for the record, you said Jets in 6. Just let's not pretend like you're somehow.
Yeah, which could still happen. Your prediction can't happen.
I know. I understand that. But the point I'm making is that if you go back and listen to my prediction, I said every game is going to be close. And so I mean,
and then took Jets in 5.
And for the record, I was wrong. I was wrong in that regard too, because they weren't close. I mean, they lost. They got dominated today.
If you know, I'm obviously bugging you. I mean,
well, I wouldn't know that you're bugging me because so far you've brought it up like 4 times, Big Daddy. So,
that doesn't even include the times he texted it to you while we were watching during the game when I was on.
It's okay. You know what? Usually you and I drive.
Is that why Dave blocked me?
Yeah, that's why I blocked you years ago.
Usually you and I drive the bus over Drew, but it's okay, Big Daddy. You want to throw it over me?
No, I mean this series has not gone. I think we expect.
By the way, I'm going to go back to the season preview where Drew predicted the Jets wouldn't make the playoffs.
Hey, what are you throwing me involved here? It was you and Ezzy are fighting.
You predicted the Jets to miss the playoffs?
No. I'm just.
I don't.
Okay, I was like, I'm pretty sure we all picked the Jets to make the playoffs. Nobody picked the Jets to win the President's Trophy. Like, not just us. I don't think anybody around the entire league picked the Jets to finish first overall. So I think in that regard, we're all good. But this Blues team has shown us maybe that they're even better than we thought they were. Like, let's be honest here, guys.
And they're demonstrating it. It's not the same team that won the cup by any stretch of the imagination, but there's enough of the similar guys who do not go meekly into that night. They will not just roll over because they're playing against the top team in the President's Trophy winning team. They have a championship pedigree. They're demonstrating that championship pedigree, and it's incumbent on the Jets to try and match the Blues championship mindset over the next 2 or 3 games to see where this series ends up going. That's the question. That's the challenge ahead for the Winnipeg Jets. And we'll find out starting on Wednesday night if they're in fact able to live up to that challenge.
They got to toughen up. Like, this is old school hockey here, guys. Like, this is a central division. This is central division warfare. And by the way, like, obviously I'm giving Dave a hard time about his prediction, but I preferred the Minnesota Wild over the St. Louis Blues in the first round. Look what the Wild are doing. They almost went up 3-1 in the series over the Golden Knights, right? So the Wild have been a handful for the Golden Knights, who are obviously the other division winner guys, right? So it's not like the Jets are the only top seed having trouble. Washington lost to Montreal in game 3. I think it
goes to show you how small the margin is between most of these teams, with the exception of the Hurricanes and the Devils. That's a one-sided series. Even the Leafs are up 3-1 on Ottawa, but that 3 of those games have been overtime games. The only series, again, Ezzy, apologies, but not really. The only series that's not going to be competitive is the Hurricanes and the Devils. That's the only one that.
Well, and even the Devils, they won a game though, right?
They won a game in overtime.
There haven't been any sweeps. So yes, the Hurricanes, they're up right now.
3-1. They're up 3-1 this afternoon already. Let's go to break. When we come back, some interesting quotes coming out of the Blues dressing room, courtesy of our buddy Jeremy Rutherford, that I want to bring to you here on the post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on so that you'll be able to join us, of course, on Wednesday for the Illegal Curve pregame show, and then the Illegal Curve postgame show, and then all of the shows that we always do. So don't go anywhere. You have those things you got to do while we go to commercial break. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve postgame show.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, Living or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. I got Sunday dinner I got to get to, so we're going to not be that much longer. I hope everyone else is having a very enjoyable Sunday, notwithstanding.
What's for dinner, Drew? We need to know what's on the menu.
I'm not sure. I'll see what Tanis is whipping up. It's we'll head over to the house, and the grandparents feed the grandchildren on Sundays, and the parents get to kick up their feet and relax, and we're going to look forward to that. Yeah, sure, you can come.
Okay.
Don't ask for the address.
Seriously though, I'm really hungry.
I know, you're always welcome in my parents' house. You're not welcome in my house, but you're always welcome in my parents' house.
I know Shelton and Tanis have always been very welcoming. You not so much.
No, not so much. I readily admit.
Dave has me over for dinner all the time. Drew, can't get me an invite.
I'm pretty sure Dave has an oven that's never been used.
Mostly. I use it like 1 week a year.
1 week a year.
Look, Dave. Some people like takeout. Some people like to cook. We're takeout guys.
Yeah.
You know what? You guys are both great. That's the long and the short of it. Is whatever you guys are, you guys.
We've barbecued. Dave M and I have barbecued before.
Yeah. Look,
True. I'm a big barbecuer.
I know you guys are great. I love you both. That's the only reason I do this show. Despite there's a Reddit feed that says that we all hate each other. That is not.
Is there actually?
There is. There's a Reddit feed that says that we all hate each other. Yeah, they think they're it's absolutely serious. They don't.
Well, for the record, let me defend my.
Well, first of all, they're right.
Yeah, a very astute Reddit feed is what you forgot to say, Drew.
Right. The point is, anytime that it looks like we have disdain for each other, it is an act. Just putting that out there into the ether.
Mostly an act.
I need to go over this again, though. Like, there actually is a group of people that are talking about how we hate each other.
No.
One person said.
I was going to say, let's defend the Redditors here, Drew. The Reddit, there's a lot of love for Illegal Curve on Reddit. Thank you.
No question.
To the folks on Reddit. And then one person said, but they all hate each other, so that was kind of funny.
We're just because we're fueled by hate doesn't mean we hate each other.
No,
it's usually external hate. For the record, we tend to defend each other if something's going wrong.
So. We're family. We're allowed to take shots at one another, but if somebody from the external takes a shot at one of us, then the claws come out and Mama Bear shows up and is going to do a little bit of some grizzly fighting and protecting their cubs.
That's right.
I'm torturing that analogy, but in any event,
you're doing something right.
Jim Montgomery, quote, "We held a majority of the lead of both games in Winnipeg. So we felt we played well, but we didn't feel we played to our identity for 60 minutes. So it gave us confidence that if we were able to play for 60 minutes, then we'd have success. It's a 2 out of 3 now. Both teams wanted home ice. Now we have to go to Winnipeg and try to win one on the road." That's the Blues head coach. And I agree. that I thought that they have played, even though it's a 2-all series. I said this yesterday on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I think the Blues have been the better of the two teams for more cumulative minutes in this series than the Jets have. I know the Jets won games 1 and 2, but it certainly wasn't a dominant performance like we've seen from the Blues in games 3 and 4. The Jets, and I mean, again, it only matters how you win or if you win. It doesn't matter if you win lopsided or by the skin of your the skin of your nose. But that to me is, I think, an area that the Blues can take some confidence in, is that they have been playing very well, equaling the Winnipeg Jets, if not better, over the course of most of this playoff series.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Drew, because the Blues, of course, were leading the Jets 3-2 in the third period in game 1. The game was tied in the third period in game 2, right? And Kyle Connor comes through with the winning goal, right? So it's been the first 2 games, even though the Jets had the 2-0 lead, the Blues played well. I think the play on the ice was pretty close. And the last couple of games, we know it hasn't been the case, and the Blues have badly outplayed the Jets for certain stretches. Obviously, the second period this afternoon, with the Blues scoring 3 goals, that was a prime example, right? So the Jets are going to have to find another level. Obviously, it's a cliche, but the Jets have not played their best these last couple games. The goaltending hasn't been good. The special teams haven't been excellent. I mean, the penalty kill was fine this afternoon, but the power play, again, they weren't able to score a goal, even though they had 5 shots on that first power play, right? So look, this is a series now. This really is a series. And, the Jets obviously are going to benefit from the whiteout crowd and everything like that. But I mean,
it's going to be a nervous whiteout crowd on Wednesday, I suspect.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, you obviously don't want to go down 3-2 going back to St. Louis, where the Blues have now won 14 games in a row, right? At home, Dave, dating back to the regular season. But I still think the Jets have another level, but it's going to require a team effort. Like Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo have been great as the top line. Like Scheifele, Connor combined have, what do they have, 12 or 13 points between the two of them right now, whatever it is. But you're going to have to get more contributions from other sources. We talked about the fourth line has done their job. Like they've been winning their shifts. They've contributed a couple goals, but you're going to need guys like Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Nemesnikov and Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton. Like these are the types of guys that are going to have to come through and step up, and they're going to have to get their boots a little bit dirty and start getting some ugly goals, because the Blues have proven to be a stingy defensive team through 4.
Well, here's Justin Falk. We're just trying to get pucks to the net and bodies to the net. It's a simple recipe. I'm sure every team in the playoffs is saying that. It's net front battles. We've got to win ours in our end and win in their end. It's nothing crazy. We're just trying to make it tough on them and their D. And Dave Minuk, they are succeeding in that regard. And as a result, it's now a 2-all series. What's happening in that poll? Why don't you give an update on that poll? Did you end it yet? Is it still going strong?
I'm going to end it right now that you said that. We had almost 650 people vote. 59% believe. Actually, we ended up with 650 votes exactly. 59% vote for the St. Louis Blues. 40% for the Winnipeg Jets.
Really?
And where that remaining 1% went, I do not know, because I didn't give a third option. So maybe the fractions weren't enough to
undecided, Dave.
No, but I didn't give undecided as an option. So there was no undecided possibility.
So the people watching this show think the St. Louis Blues are in the driver's seat of this playoff series and ultimately will prevail.
The Winnipeg Jets have always succeeded when people have discounted them. So that's probably not a bad thing. Call them frauds, call them whatever you want. We'll see how they respond. But, one of the things that, as he was talking, it was making me think of is how this team has been lauded for their depth, and how the depth has been spoken about. I'm talking about specifically about forward depth, and how it's been spoken about throughout the course of this year, and how it's been such a strength from Kevin Cheveldayoff talking about it, from Scott Arniel talking about it. Well, we're going to see that test. We're going to see it can't just be Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde, which is our expectation, or at least mine and Ezzy's expectation, Drew, for the next game on Wednesday night, a late one. But, we'll see if the depth can come through. Look, Morgan Barron got elevated. He got a little more of a role. You got the team collectively is going to have to pick up their what do they call it? Pick up your bootstraps and get going, because at this point,
jock straps, any sort
you
of
don't
straps.
really, well, no, because at this point you don't have
suspender straps.
Sure. But when Scott Arniel was asked about from Kelly Moore the other day, last week before they left for St. Louis, just talking about, or maybe it was even before, I was talking about game 2, about shortening the bench because, about winning. He said, look, we're going to do whatever it takes to win that game. Right. Well, they basically, like you said a few minutes ago, they don't have a choice but to win game 5. I'm not saying they couldn't win 6 and 7 if they had to, but I'm just saying that the way that this team, first of all, we haven't seen this team do this very much, lose 2 games consecutively this season. And so we're going to see what this team is made of. And I would suggest that I think that they'll still be able to have a good showing on Wednesday. I know folks are upset. And they're doing another poll. I suspect Rob did this. I wasn't looking, but now I see people are voting 1 and 2. So I'm not sure what they're voting on. Did anybody?
Don't worry about it. Finish your thoughts so we can.
I didn't know that the chat could create a poll.
They're not doing it's not usually a formal one. Oh, hold on. In Ehlers We Trust. If you're a Jets fan, press 2. But what was the other option in Ehlers We Trust?
Presumably press 1.
I don't know. Sparky press 4. I don't think there is a 4.
Jeremy Rutherford reporting. Again, not a surprise given how he left the ice. Tyler Tucker. This is what Jeremy's tweeted. It's sounding like Tyler Tucker could miss some time, and Ryan Suter will be back in the lineup for Game 5 between the Jets and the Blues on Wednesday night. So again, not a surprise. It looks like he caught a rut and a real unfortunate circumstance for a defenseman who's been playing some good hockey and ultimately had the game-winning goal for the St. Louis Blues tonight and has been impactful since being inserted into the lineup for the Blues. It sounds like they're going to have to go back to a similar roster that they had.
Lots of 2s, boys. I'm posting them.
Yeah, you post those 2s, Ezzy. That's good on you for doing that.
More importantly, though, I know that folks voted on the poll, both the formal one that we created, the informal one that In Ehlers We Trust created, but also, folks, while you're in that chat zone, make sure you hit that like button.
I'm going to tell them that right now as we wrap up.
But I want to get my word
here. Here's the reminder. Wednesday night, we're at City Place, 6:30 p.m. for the Illegal Curve pregame show. So be sure to join us at City Place. If you're heading downtown to the game, you're heading downtown to one of the street parties, come stop by City Place, 2nd floor. That's where we will be bringing you the latest on the Jets and the St. Louis Blues before Game 5. After Game 5, it'll be a late night, probably looking at about 11:20, 11:30. That's
definitely going to overtime.
Yeah, if there's no overtime, that'll be around when the post-game show starts on Wednesday night. So be sure to join us for that. We'll talk about everything that's going on regarding the Jets and the Blues. In the interim, of course, illegalcurve.com is your destination for the latest Winnipeg Jets news and audio. Keep it locked on our YouTube channel as well. We'll bring you everything that you need to know between now and Wednesday's game.
Drew, just so you know, these Devils just made it 3-2. So
I know.
Look out. And they also knocked Freddie Anderson
out. Yeah. So that's big things happening.
Although
they're
missing like
Kochetkov time.
They're missing Hughes, Brendan Dillon, and Johnny Kovacevic. So there's been those 2 teams are being decimated.
Yes, they are. So that's a new goalie in net for the Hurricanes due to injury. I guess that's 3 starting goaltenders that have had to leave because of injury. Samuel Montembeault will not start for the Habs tonight. Yeah. It's up in the air if Logan Thompson is going to play for the Capitals or not. And now Carolina having.
Well, it must. But Drew, isn't that game? I think someone said it's already 2-0. So we must. Oh, that game hasn't started.
No, it doesn't start till 5:30.
Oh. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. In any event, we all those things you need to do, and you also need to smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn your notifications on, and of course, leave us some feedback on the YouTube channel and on on the podcast. Let us know what you think of us here at Illegal Curve Hockey. Wednesday night is the next one. The Jets will look for redemption for that. In the interim, we thank our sponsors, our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's, and of course, the Rady JCC, the 2025 sports dinner upcoming with Vikings legends, Minnesota Vikings legends, Chris Carter and John Randall. Information available at radyjcc.com. Go have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for watching. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.